Hello you and welcome back to Scandinavian Design 101. I'm Sanna.
I'm Andreas and we are two Swedes and we love design. And today we will explore 6 remarkable Swedish design classics that are still being produced today.
Oh yes.
However, as always, buying second-hand remains a fantastic option. Not only does it contribute to a healthier environment, but old items also possesses an unique patina and feeling that new items simply can't replicate.
No, not at all.
No. And first up is the Grasshopper lamp, designed in 1947 by the Swedish-American architect Greta Magnusson-Grossman. Born in the Swedish town of Helsingborg in 1906, she was an active modernist designer in Stockholm before emigrating to the US in the summer of 1940. Settling in Los Angeles, she quickly established herself as an influential figure in the West Coast design scene. Opening her own design studio, she became known for her sleek, functional and minimalistic designs characterized by clean lines, geometric shapes and a beautiful blend of form and function. One of her most iconic pieces is the Grasshopper lamp, designed in 1947 for the small American manufacturer Ralph O. Smith. And it's named after the distinctive shape, resembling a grasshopper's long, slender legs. The lamp features a bullet-shaped aluminum shade mounted on a curved tubular steel tripod stand, and the shade can be adjusted in different positions. Despite moving to the United States, Magnusson-Grossman maintained connections with her home country and continued collaborating with Swedish manufacturers. The company Bergboms expressed interest in the Grasshopper and started producing a slightly altered version under license. A comparison between the American and the Swedish versions can be seen here. Vintage grasshoppers are relatively rare to find and often sold for several thousands of dollars. And recently, a somewhat damaged grasshopper produced by Bergboms was sold for $2,600 at an auction house in Stockholm, Bukowski's, I think it was. Nowadays, the Grasshopper lamp is produced by GUBI, based on the original American version by Ralph O. Smith, and it retails for $840.
Next up is the futuristic-looking Etcetera resting chair, one of my all-time favorites. Designed in 1971 by Jan Ekselius. The manufacturer was Jan O. Carlsson, also known as JOC,
ja. Yeah.
Möbler. Jan Ekselius' father, Karl-Erik, was an established furniture designer who owned the company JOC in his hometown of Vetlanda. Jan followed in his father's footsteps and achieved his big breakthrough in 1971 when the Etcetera was shown to the public for the first time. Aesthetically, the Etcetera is fundamentally different from the strict and minimalist furniture designed by his father. It is constructed from a tubular steel frame, metal springs, and strapping wires covered in stretchy velour, providing both comfort and a futuristic look that was just right for the market in the early 70s.
Yeah, I can imagine.
2 different models were available, the short version called Etcetera 1 and the long version called Etcetera 2. A matching footstool was also available, making the long version a comfortable resting chair. Etcetera chairs are relatively frequently sold on the second-hand market, and you will probably have to pay somewhere around $1,000 for a long version with a matching footstool. The Etcetera was, like I said, a huge success, exhibited around the world and sold in relatively large numbers. However, the production was discontinued when space-age furniture went out of fashion. But now it is once again in production by the Swedish company Artilleriet. The shape is still the same, but instead of metal springs, the upholstery now rests on rubber bands, making it even more comfortable.
Yeah, it was a bit noisy, the old ones.
Oh, yeah. A new Etcetera 1 costs $2,575, and the Etcetera 2 cost $2,675. That's not...
Almost the same.
Yeah. And the footstool costs $830.
Yeah. And I want one.
We need one.
Yeah. And now let's talk about the Jetson swivel chair designed by the modernist designer Bruno Mathsson. And he is best known for his bentwood furniture upholstered in linen webbing, but the Jetson is his take on a mid-century futuristic chair. In the early 1960s, Mathsson teamed up with a Danish architect and mathematician Piet Hein to design the super-elliptical table. Inspired by the metal span legs used for this table, Mathsson decided to design a metal chair. A few years earlier, designers like Eero Saarinen and Charles and Ray Eames had developed functional metal furniture in the US, which inspired Mathsson when he started sketching on the Jetson. It was named after the animated sci-fi series Jetsons, and just like Saarinen's tulip chairs, the seat rested on a single leg with a swivel function. The Jetson was first shown to the public in the spring of 1966 and was initially produced by Bruno Mathson International, the same company that produced the tables. Soon after, Mathson was contacted by the owner of the manufacturer Dux, and a deal was made giving Dux the license to produce the Jetson. It was an immediate success, and 3 years later an updated version with armrests was launched, which is now the most common version, almost the only one you see. The Jetson is popular on the second-hand market, often sold for $1,000 or more. Both the original version and the one launched in 1969 are still in production today. The one without armrests is called Jetson 66 and is produced by Bruno Mathson International, with a retail price between $1,800 and $2,400 depending on the choice of upholstery there. And the version with armrests is still produced by Dux, and it's sold for between $2,200 and $4,900. Oh. And it's just the type of leather that actually is different there. So, I mean, I can't really understand how expensive leather could cost more than $2,000 extra, but yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
The next object we're going to talk about is a simplistic pendant lamp, which has become almost synonymous with Swedish 70s interiors. But let's start from the beginning. The well-known lighting manufacturer Artilleriet was founded by Hans Bergström in 1934. That's a long time ago. Yeah. About 20 years later, Bergström decided to design a small lantern. Inspired by the metal canopies used for his own lamps, he created a metal candle holder that held a tulip-shaped glass shade. This product was given the humble name of 100L and was a low-cost item sold by the company. However, Bergström was forced to leave Artilleriet in the late 50s due to financial difficulties. Yeah. And the company was sold for less than $1 to the engineer Anders Persson. Yeah. Over the following years, Persson modernized the factory and developed a range of products better adapted to the aesthetic of the 60s and 70s. At some point, the small candle holder caught his eye, and soon the shape of the metal base was transformed into a chubby pendant lamp. The first boomling, which could possibly be translated as the boulder, was completed just in time for the Gothenburg Lighting Fair in 1968, and the audience loved it. Several different versions were introduced, including wall and table lamps. Prices vary widely on the second-hand market, but a large pendant made from brass can easily cost several $100s. Yeah. It's an understatement to say that Boomlingen was a commercial success. It was produced in very large numbers and exported all over the world. And Artilleriet continues to produce several versions of it today. The large 60-centimeter pendant is sold for between $800 and $1,000, depending on the color, and the table and wall versions both cost approximately $650. Yeah.
And we're actually going to mention yet another chair by Bruno Mathsson. The metal chair Corin, launched in 1969. And it was actually the first chair designed by Mathson after the collaboration with Dux was initiated. So it was the first chair designed specifically for Dux.
Yeah.
In a way, Corin was sprung from the tubular steel chairs designed at the Bauhaus School back in the 20s, but with a clear touch of the 1970s. The tubular steel frame was resting on 4 casters, a practical solution making it easy to move around. Corin was an immediate success, like the other products we've been talking about, featured in most major design magazines and was soon copied by a lot of different manufacturers. And Dux did their best to stop these copies, but soon had to realize it was impossible. Suddenly, Corin had become the template for a new type of chair offered by most furniture manufacturers in the early 1970s, not least IKEA. Unconcerned about this, Mathson decided to redesign Corin in 1973, giving it a new kind of cushions. The interest for vintage Corin chairs has skyrocketed in recent years, and you will often have to pay around $2,000 for a chair in decent condition. And both the original Corin and Corin 73 is yet again in production by Dux. And the retail price is between $3,000 and $4,000 depending on the model and choice of upholstery. And the matching footstool and the side table is also available. But I think the price on this new production, it's very high, and that's why vintage chairs are expensive today.
Totally. Finally, let's talk about the safari chair Sirocco, designed in 1964 by Arne Norell. He was born in 1917 and founded Möbel AB Arne Norell, furniture company Arne Norell in 1954. After a few years, the company was moved to Småland, a province in southern Sweden known for being the center of the Swedish furniture industry. Since then, the company has been producing furniture by Arne Norell, and several models have also been produced under license around the world. Arne Norell drew inspiration not least from Danish design and created furniture using a wide range of materials such as rosewood, leather and steel. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1971 at the young age of 54, and several of his now most popular models had not yet been put in production. Therefore, Norell continued to release new models even long after his premature death.
Yeah, that's
a way to do it.
Yeah.
The Sirocco chair was designed in 1964 and was based on the safari chair, a model interpreted by many Scandinavian designers. As early as 1933, the Danish architect Kåre Klint created a modern version of a British Army officer's chair, which soon became the role model for most following safari chairs. As you can see, the Sirocco chair differed quite a lot from Klint's chair, but there are also some obvious similarities. Vintage Sirocco chairs are sought after at auctions and often sold between $500 and $1,000. It's important to note that some of these early chairs were made from Rio rosewood, making it illegal to buy, sell, or export without a permit.
Yeah.
A new Sirocco chair costs between $2,300 and $2,600 depending on the type of wood used.
Yeah, but we want one of them too.
You do.
Yeah, I want one of them. And this was the episode about some Swedish design classics still in production.
Yeah.
Do you have another favorite, perhaps? Please tell us in the comments.
Please do, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.